Okay, so you go ahead and do number 4, and I'll put them up more with them. So, same thing for cosine. Now, your original point on cosine is the point 0, 1. This is just an x change, so the first one's not going to change at all. Because if I divide 0 by 2, it's still 0. So I still have it right here. The next point was pi over 2, 0. So it's now going to be pi over 4. So it looks like that. Y'all okay? Next. A value is 1, my B value is 4, no C, no D. Alright, this is a horizontal change only. It's backwards of what you think. So even though it looks like multiply by 4, it's not multiply by 4. It's divide by 4. You're dividing all your x values by 4, so 0, 0 will still be 0, 0. Okay, so my first x value besides 0, 0 on my critical points over here was pi over 2. So I have to divide that by 4, which is the same thing as multiplying by 4th. So it's going to be pi over 8. So, where is pi over 8 on this graph?
Between 0 and
Exactly. Between 0 and the first line, right? Because the first line is pi over 4, right? So it's going to be right here. I did a couple of cycles because it's so small, so. And same thing on this next one. The first point doesn't change because it's at 0. Okay? Okay, so now A value this time is 1, B value is a half, no C, no D. Okay, so a half looks like divide by 2. But instead of dividing by 2, this time we're going to multiply by 2. So if my first critical point, well 0, 0 is not going to change. But if my next critical point was pi over 2, instead of dividing by 2, I'm going to multiply by 2. So if I have pi over 2 times 2, what happens? It's just pi, because those 2's are going to cancel. So my 0, 0 stays the same, and my next point is going to be pi 1.
1731.
So now, what I would probably do to graph is now that I see what that means for me graphically, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces away. That means my next point has to be 4 spaces away, and where is it going to be?
On the axis.
On the axis. So I can just count 4 spaces and put a dot. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, and that one's going to be below. That's the great thing about these things being, they have periodic, is they have patterns. And if you can figure out the pattern, you don't have to do each individual point. Similarly, on this one, I had my first point at 0, 1, that's not going to change. But my next point was at pi over 2, 0. But because of this half, that's the same thing as multiplying by 2, it's now going to be a pi 0. that makes sense to what we said yesterday. If the b value is less than 1, then it's a stretch. And that's what's happened is that these curves have been stretched out. So b is a stretch or compression. Horizontal stretch or compression.